Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're unpacking something truly fascinating. We're looking at how a famously introverted 19th century poet, someone who spent a huge chunk of her life totally secluded in her family home, somehow managed to pen a masterpiece about an epic cosmic binge. It's just this stunning piece of literature that completely flips our expectations of who she was. Right? Like, how does Emily Dickinson, of all people, adopt this wild, party animal persona in a poem that's fundamentally just about beautiful weather? Inebriate of air, am I? That's the core mystery we're going to unravel today. By looking closely at the structure and the language she uses, we'll see exactly how she constructs this joyful little rebellion. Okay, let's dive into the source text. We've got the full text of Poem 214 right here, famously known by its first line, "I taste a liquor never brewed." Our goal today is to decode the brilliant central metaphor of this poem, stanza by stanza, using the exact words she laid out for us. Section 1, A Liquor Never Brewed, Decoding the Tavern Imagery. So, we kick off this escalation arc by examining the mysterious beverage Dickinson introduces in the very first stanza. She immediately grabs our attention by setting up a paradox. She's tasting a drink that has never actually been manufactured or brewed, and she's drinking it from tankards, those big traditional beer mugs, but these aren't made of wood or pewter, they're scooped in precious pearl. She's literally mixing the gritty reality of a pub with absolute pristine elegance. And then she elevates this mystery drink even further by stating that not all the vats upon the Rhine yield such an alcohol. She's actually comparing her unbrewed liquor to the world's finest traditional wines produced along the famous Rhine River in Europe. And she's saying, without a doubt, her drink is vastly superior. Now, what's really interesting here is how clearly we can map her brewing and tavern terminology directly onto their natural counterparts. On one side, we have the heavy industrial words, tankards, vats, alcohol, and on the other, these delicate natural impossibilities, pearl, a liquor never brewed. She's basically forcing our brains to hold two completely different worlds, a noisy tavern and pristine nature, at the exact same time. Section 2, Intoxicated by Nature, Drunk on Summer Days. As we move into the second stanza, Dickinson finally reveals exactly what environment is causing this profound state of intoxication. But before we get to her words, let's just consider the word debauchee, a person given to excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures. Guys, this is an incredibly strong, almost scandalous word for a reclusive 19th century woman to use to describe herself. It paints this incredibly vivid picture of reckless, wild indulgence. And here is how she uses it. The real twist of the poem is fully revealed right here. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew. Her reckless indulgence isn't in alcohol at all. She is getting absolutely wasted on fresh air and morning dew. The sheer beauty of the natural world is her intoxicant. The imagery here is just fantastic. She pictures herself physically stumbling or reeling through these endless summer days. And where exactly is she drinking? Well, she treats the vast, bright summer sky above her as an endless inn made of molten blue, pouring out an infinite supply of natural wonder. Section 3, Outdrinking the Bees, the Drinking Companions. Shifting focus from the grand blue sky down to the ground level, we are introduced to her fellow tavern patrons in the garden. Because, Dickinson isn't drinking alone, she lists her garden companions, the bees and the butterflies. They're the other locals at this natural pub partaking in the very same nectar she is, but as we're about to see, they can't quite hold their liquor like she can. This brilliantly illustrates the metaphor she's built. The foxglove, which is a beautiful bell-shaped flower, becomes a literal tavern in her mind. And when the bee has collected way too much nectar, the natural landlords of the flower have to kick the drunken bee out of the door. It's this hilarious, perfectly crafted miniature scene. So the crucial takeaway here is her escalating competitive spirit. Just look at this line. When butterflies renounce their drams, I shall but drink the more. A dram is a small measure of liquor. She's boasting. Even when the fragile insects top out and literally pass out from the nectar, her thirst for nature remains utterly unquenchable. She is basically the heavyweight champion of appreciating a summer day. Section 4, A Cosmic High, a Spiritual Experience. Now let's see how this all builds into an overwhelming cosmic climax in the fourth and final stanza. The scale of the poem suddenly explodes upward. We're no longer just hanging out in a garden with bees and butterflies. Her sheer joy has actually drawn a massive divine audience. Seraphs, the high-ranking angels, swinging their snowy hats in celebration, and saints literally running to the windows of heaven just to get a look at her. To really grasp the contrast she creates here, look at the word tippler. It means a habitual drinker of alcohol. It's kind of a funny, slightly undignified word, right? But the grand, majestic, heavenly audience is looking down to witness our speaker, whom Dickinson playfully and humbly labels a little tippler. Which leads to what I genuinely think is one of the most breathtaking final images in all of American poetry. The heavenly host rushes to the windows to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. This tiny, habitual drinker of nature is so blissfully intoxicated by the summer day that she is literally using the sun itself as a lamppost to hold herself up. It is a perfect, mind-bending fusion of the microscopic and the cosmic. If we refer back to the analysis of our source text, it really hits the nail on the head. This poem ultimately equates the physical consumption of air, dew, and nature with a profound spiritual elevation. Dickinson uses the earthly, gritty language of a tavern binge to describe a transcendent, almost holy connection to the natural world.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought directly inspired by her brilliant imagery. What natural experience leaves you feeling spiritually intoxicated? Dickinson's masterpiece challenges us to stop rushing, to look around, and to find that exact same overwhelming, intoxicating wonder in our own summer days. Thank you so much for joining me to decode this beautiful work. Keep looking closely, and I'll catch you next time.